Hello and thank you for joining me. My name is Karabo and today I am going to take you through the journey of the decrim case of the LGBT++ community in Botswana. In the past years, Botswana was one of the countries that was criminalizing homosexuality. But the LGBT++ community in Botswana was fighting for the repeal of the Penal Code Section 164 after the Kanane case in 1998. Victory came to the LGBT community of Botswana in 2019, June the 11th, when the High Court of Botswana decriminalized homosexuality. However, the decrim case or the decrim judgment was appealed a few days after homosexuality was decriminalized. But to help unpack this, let's hear what the LGBT++ community of Botswana, what the P-flags and the allies of the LGBT community in Botswana has to say regarding the appeal of the decrim case or the appeal of the decrim judgment.
Ke ne ke dumeletse the decriminalization case which happened in 2019. It was a step in the right direction following the Employment Act of 2010, which actually frowns upon discrimination against being fired on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. So if we want to entertain the appeal of the 2019 decriminalization case, it means that the progress that we are celebrating is now frowned against, right? It means that we are now being invalidated. Our voices are being nullified because of certain individuals who feel that we are not entitled to our basic human rights, the right to dignity, to be treated with dignity and decency and privacy. I feel like when we look at issues of body autonomy and body politics, what is the law doing in our bedrooms, right? Because we have the right to own up to our own bodies. So if we're willing to let the law play in our bodies, what does that mean? It means that we are nothing but guinea pigs for the law, right? And I don't think that is what the law intends for the people in the country. So it is important to say that this decriminalization appeal is not right, and it doesn't come with much needed benefits, as they may term it or coin it, because if we continue to decriminalize Section 164, it means that we are going to be denied the right to health care, the right to accessing legal services, the right to accessing the national registry requirements, such as the national identity card, passport, and the driver's license, because that way we're saying that the LGBTQA plus community does not belong. We're saying that we do not want them if we entertain this appeal, because this appeal was saying to us as individuals, as communities, as parents, that you exist and we hear you, we validate you. Now, if we continue with the decriminalization appeal, we're saying that we are now invalidating you. You don't matter, because body politics is going to literally affect how the ruling is going, the outcome of the ruling, because it is our bodies that are being ruled against, right? So I think we need to go back and sit down and look at this appeal to say that we just silencing some people, we just allowing them to be cancelled out because we as the people are saying that we do not want the gays, we do not want the lesbians, we do not want the rainbow community in this country. As a matter of fact, if we continue with the appeal, we're saying that we are saying that public opinion matters to the outcome of the law, which isn't the case, right? Which isn't the case. So I think we need to look and introspect to the long-term benefits of upholding the decriminalization that is currently here, because it'll open up a lot of opportunities, not just for the LGBTQIA people, but to the general public as well. So yeah, that is my voice.
Hi, my name is Nili a trans and gender diverse activist living in Botswana. Botswana currently is one of the countries that was able and fortunate enough to decriminalize consensual same-sex relationships via the ruling or against Section 164, Section 165, and Section 167 in the Penal Code. This meant for us as the LGBTI community freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and freedom to align ourselves with people who loved us and acknowledged us in our identities and affirmed the expressions that we've chosen for ourselves. The appeal by the government of Botswana has detrimental effects on the progress that was made on the 11th of June 2019. This I mean by the fact that currently Botswana hasn't created policies or developed policies that would then be inclusive and ensure accessibility for key populations living in Botswana. This has also been detrimental in the sense that Botswana re tlhoka kopano, re tlhoka kutlwano in this moment of COVID-19. The LGBTI community has been shunned mostly due to the fact that, for example, the trans community does not have access to public health service due to policies that are not inclusive. The LGBTI community is still facing unemployment due to implementation that the government needs to push forward in creating inclusivity. And I would urge the government to come together in working with civil society organizations to bring inclusivity, to bring botho le setho sa rona re le Batswana, to bring affirmation and recognition of key populations, this including sex workers. I'm hoping that the High Court of Botswana makes a good decision in standing its ground and not being shunned for making a decision that was in favor of everyone who lives in Botswana.
Winning the decrim case in 2019 was really exciting. It was extremely exciting for LGBTI people in Botswana. And for me, as a queer identifying person, I wanted to see the positive changes that would come about with the new judgment. And I wanted to also see what doors would open, like in for other changes, what doors would open in the constitution, in policies, and so on. I was also excited to see what Botswana would say and how they would be welcoming to the judgment. And I think now the appeal is honestly taking us back. It's if we criminalize now, we are going back, and I feel like it's going to perpetuate violence in all its forms. I feel like violations will come back now tripled, because now it's also a feeling of rejection by our own country. Like, we don't belong as LGBTI people. We are not worthy of enjoying our freedoms as other people. And I feel like people will now be less accepting of their own children. As a human rights defender, that's something we also need to think about, that it's going to affect individuals now.
Hi, Dumelang. My name is Kane Youngman. I am with LEGABIBO, the Lesbians, Gays and Bisexuals of Botswana. Despite its name, the acronym, it's an LGBTIQ plus focused organization, meaning we serve the entire umbrella for SOGISC, sexual orientation, gender identity, and sexual characteristics and expression, gender expression, basically. So I've been asked to give a bit of background information about the organization, where it's come from, and its strategic litigation processes and journey. So what LEGABIBO decided many years ago was to adopt an incremental approach to advocacy. Incremental approach meaning that we appreciate that we will not be able to take down certain legal provisions if we don't build up to them. Example, it would have not been easy for us to take down penal code provisions, section 164, section 165, and part of section 167, if we had not been building up to it. So by incremental approach, it meant that we focused on all those small puzzle pieces and appreciated that all these pieces of puzzles, no matter how small they are very, very important at giving us a clear general picture of what we are after. So we targeted things like ensuring that we appear in certain national policies, that we appear in certain national documents, national processes. We also targeted what we might call, or what others call, low-hanging fruits. This is where you target laws or policies that are easy to change. in every legal system, in every government system, there are things that are easy to change and there are those that are not easy to change. So we had to weigh that. We changed things that we were able to change and then threw them in the shopping cart, moved on to the next thing, tackled it, threw it in the shopping cart, and by the time we left the store, we had a bit of a bigger picture of what DCRIM looked like, and that's what we presented before the Court of Laws. We had our shopping trolley, and we then assembled all our puzzle pieces together and showed the courts this bigger picture that we've been working towards. So that's the background of DCRIM and LEGABIBO's approach. Mind you, in 2011, we had wanted to do another decriminalization case, but we had to take a step back, weigh it, and see if it was worth the risk. So after we took one step back and weighed the then decriminalization case, we decided to withdraw the case, go back to the drawing board and focus on registering the organization. And that proved to be a very wise decision on our part because it worked in our favor, because registering the organization on its own also formed part of these greater puzzle pieces that we were later put together to showcase why DCRIM was necessary. June 2019, that's when the decriminalization judgment was handed down, and it came in our favor. The Court of Laws instructed that Section 164 Part A, Section 164 Part C, Section 165 be taken down, and then Section 167 to be revised. 164 spoke about carnal knowledge against the order of nature, either having carnal knowledge of another person or another person having carnal knowledge of you. And then Section 165 was about the intention to commit 164. And then Section 167 spoke about gross indecency, whether in private or in public. So what the courts then decided, they said the privacy part of that provision, the private part of that provision needs to be taken down, because if you are in your own little private space, then it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any legal logic for you to be persecuted when you are not being gross, if I may say, if you are not being disgusting to anybody. If they look at it, it's disgusting. So that is what happened with the judgment, and that's what the Court of Appeal has to deal with now, addressing, because following the High Court judgment, the state then appealed. So that means that at the moment we are waiting to be assigned a date at the Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal in Motswana is the highest court in the land. It's equivalent to what other countries term the Supreme Court. So that for us, Court of Appeal is our Supreme Court, is the highest court in the land. So we're waiting for the highest court in the land to make a judgment in what the Attorney General, who's representing the government of Botswana, is challenging. Basically, the Attorney General is challenging just about everything in the judgment. which is very weird because in most cases, the appeals are usually specific to certain sections. They are specific to a few things. But in this case, they're basically challenging just about everything in the judgment. But we will see what will happen. We are very convinced that our case is still as strong, and we don't think there's going to be anything different in terms of judgment. What we're looking forward is this law being taken down, being instituted, and making sure that Parliament takes it off the records, and making sure that LGBTIQ plus identifying individuals in Botswana live a free and fulfilling life, because this law has proved to be a huge hindrance to our lives as the LGBTIQ identifying individuals. It has proved to be a hindrance to our lives as students because you get bullied because of who you are. It perpetuates bullying. It has hindered us in getting employment because of who we are and how we represent ourselves, despite having laws like Employment Act saying I shall not be discriminated against. I shall not have my employment based on sexual orientation. So basically, the provisions of the Penal Code are the birth of all the discomfort that the LGBTIQ plus individuals are facing in Botswana. Well, this is, of course, in addition to patriarchy and religion. So I'm looking forward to us being victorious at the Court of Appeal and us tackling the next issues at hand. Thank you.